The scripture reading for this morning will be from Judges chapter 20, starting in verse 1. Judges chapter 20, starting in verse 1. It says that all the people of Israel came out, from Dan to Beersheba, including the land of Gilead, and the congregation assembled as one man to the Lord at Mizpah. And the chiefs of all the people and of all the tribes of Israel presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God, 400,000 men on foot that drew the sword. Now the people of Benjamin heard that the people of Israel had gone up to Mizpah. And the people of Israel said, "Tell us how this evil happened." The Levite, the husband of the woman who was murdered, answered and said, "I came to Gibeah that belongs to Benjamin, and I and my concubine to spend the night. And the leaders of Gibeah rose against me, and surrounded the house against me by night. They meant to kill me, and they violated my concubine, and she is dead. So I took hold of my concubine and cut her in pieces, and sent her throughout all the country of the inheritance of Israel, for they have committed abomination and outrage in Israel. Behold, you people of Israel, all of you, give your advice and counsel here." And all the people arose as one man, saying, "None of us will go to his tent, and none of us will return to his house. But now this is what we will do to Gibeah. We will go up against it by lot, and we will take 10 men of 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 of 10,000, to bring provisions for the people, that when they come they may repay Gibeah of Benjamin for all the outrage that they have committed in Israel." So all the men of Israel gathered against the city, united as one man.
So thank you, John. So I think I've mentioned it before. Judges, I really like Judges. I think I've preached on Judges and talked about Judges just about every chance I get. So I guess I'm not going to break tradition. So what has just happened is an awful, terrible crime has just been committed against the people of Israel by this one city belonging to the tribe of Benjamin. And this is really are in a time of degeneracy, turmoil. If you look at the previous story, it's the idolatry of Micah, and it's just really an awful time for all of this. I don't think there's a judge at this point, so it's really, really awful. And what I really get from this story is mostly that of a theme of short-sightedness. So, in itself, something very similar to what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah happened. You know, there's a guy, his concubine, trying to spend the night in Gibeah, and the men of the town come, demand him. They take his wife and do awful things, and at the end of it, she dies. So he does, I guess, what you would do in that situation somehow, and cuts her into 12 pieces and sends her out to all the people in Israel. Then they all rise up against them. They're going to solve this problem. So, like I said, very akin to what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. And these are Benjaminites. They're Israelites. They should know this story. It's one that's very well known, and it's going to be passed down. But they didn't care. They didn't care what happened to those from Sodom and Gomorrah long ago. I don't know their reasoning as to why they thought that they could, just get away with it. But nonetheless, they were very short-sighted in their reasoning. They looked to please themselves, and they did. So at this point, it's a horrible thing that happened. It's terrible. It's very sad, but it's isolated to individuals. And so the people of the Benjaminite tribe are the people of the Israelites just decided, okay, this thing has happened. We need to solve a problem. We need to drive out this evil. We need to purge it because we know what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. So they get a lot of people together, and they're going to call a war council or a council first at Mizpah to find out what happened to it, or find out what happened, and none of the Benjamites come. So at this point, they have taken this sin from a few individuals, and because of the culture, they have consented to this sin. So it's no longer just a sin of individuals, it's now the sin of a tribe. And, you know, the precedent was set on Sodom and Gomorrah. It was actually still a sin of the individuals. You know, you have the people that did it that were being punished. That's why if you look back, whenever the angels first come, whenever God is talking with Abraham, he says, so what if I find 50 people in Sodom and Gomorrah, would you save it? God says, yes. What about 45? Yes. 40? Yes. 30? Yes. 20? Yes. 10? Yes. And it's just so on. So, you know, if he can find good people in here, that's it. They're going to be saved. Or not destroyed. So, you know, it is actually still focused on the individual. It's not like, you know, he's trying to just wipe out a place because of a few bad people. He's actually very focused on trying to save those that can be saved. And so with this, you have the people who, you know, could be saved, that were being saved. Unfortunately, they all took part in the sin by consenting. So, that is what the town did at first. And so, let's see. That's why they asked the Benjaminites, give up your people. Benjaminites refused. They're all taking part in the sin. Would have been the end of it. Would have solved the problem. Wouldn't have had this story. It would have just been, a sin happened. They were punished. Done. I don't know why they didn't. I don't know why they decided it's more important to have these horrible people among us than, you know, give them up. It could have been suspicion over what actually happened. It could have been a desire to protect the tribe or something else, but nonetheless, it was very short-sighted. You know, you can have people that you truly love, that you want to protect, but it's also more important to drive out what needs to be driven out, purge any kind of evil from among us, then keep that in our midst. So for me, it actually strikes very home pretty well. I know I'm actually kind of tribalistic. You know, I tend to think America first. We're going to promote America over other nations. We're going to, especially Southerners. Sorry, guys. But if I meet a Southerner, oh man, you're from Alabama, really? So, you know, I understand that. I feel a bond to it. And, you know, that's the way that they're going to feel. They're going to see these are our people. We want to protect our people. Nonetheless, it's a short-term love for their tribe. Because if you have an evil among ourselves, even in the church or something like that, that can infect others. It grows, and I truly would not doubt that's what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, you have a few people, they don't get rid of it, and it festers and progresses until it destroys the culture. And then you have all of Sodom being destroyed. So, By not pruning away what was wrong, it became their own sin, and the will to preserve their people was put above the will of the Lord and his justice. So, due to all this happening, Israelites say, we got to purge the evil from our midst. We cannot have this. So they get the council. The Benjamites do not show up. They try to send people into the Benjamites. Give them up. Please give them up. They don't do it. So now they're going to war. In which case, one of the most confusing things happens in the Bible, at least in my opinion. So let's read in Judges 20, starting in... let's start where John left off in verse 12. Then the tribes of Israel sent men through the entire tribes of Benjamin, saying, what is this wickedness that has taken place among you? Now then, deliver up the men, the worthless fellows in Gibeah, that we may put them to death and remove this wickedness from Israel. But the sons of Benjamin would not listen to the voice of their brothers, the sons of Israel. The sons of Benjamin gathered from the cities to Gibeah to go out to battle against the sons of Israel. From the cities on that day, the sons of Benjamin were numbered 26,000 men who draw the sword, besides the inhabitants of Gibeah, who were numbered 700 choice men. Out of all those people, 700 choice men were left-handed. Each one could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. Then the men of Israel, besides Benjamin, were numbered 400,000 men who draw the sword. All of these were men of war. Now the sons of Israel arose and went to Bethel and inquired of God and said, who shall go up first for us to battle against the sons of Benjamin? Then the Lord said, Judah shall go up first. So the sons of Israel rose in the morning and camped against Gibeah. The men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin, and the men of Israel arrayed for battle against them at Gibeah. Then the sons of Benjamin came out to Gibeah and fell to the ground on that day 22,000 men of Israel. But the people, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves and arrayed for battle again in the place where they had arrayed themselves the first day. The sons of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until evening, and inquired of the Lord, saying, shall we draw near for the battle against the sons of my brother Benjamin? And the Lord said, go up against him. Then the sons of Israel came against the sons of Benjamin the second day. Benjamin went out against them from Gibeah the second day and fell to the ground again 18,000 men of the sons of Israel. All of these drew the sword. Then all the sons of Israel and all the people went up and came to Bethel and wept. Then they remained there before the Lord and fasted that day until evening. And they offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. The sons of Israel inquired of the Lord, for the ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And Phinehas, son of Eleazar, Aaron's son, stood before it to minister in those days, saying, shall I yet again go up to battle against the sons of my brother Benjamin, or shall I cease? And the Lord said, go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into your hand. So Israel sent men in ambush around Gibeah. And long story short, they rout them. So they lost. God said go fight them, and then they lost. And for me, that was so confusing, didn't understand any of it. I sat there for a long time whenever I first read this and scratched my head. So, there's some speculation as to why this thing happened. So, first one that while doing research on this, the first one that I came across is the Lord's ways are mysterious. And yes, we aren't always going to have all the answers. This is a thing. You can have a very good question, very complex mystery, and sometimes we just don't get the answer. That's the way it is. But I also think that there's more to it that we can draw from that. So, another passage that I saw, or another thought, is it could be the punishment of a previous sin, such as Micah's idolatry. So, Micah corrupted a lot of the religion of Dan, the tribe of Dan, through these actions. And it was an evil that should have been purged that wasn't. So this could be a way to purge or have a sacrifice for this evil. It could also be that the much, much larger army, the 400,000, could be defeated if the Lord willed it. So you had the point where they were saying, should we give up? I don't know. They were completely demoralized. They were actually decimated because it was, a tenth of them that was destroyed, and it seemed like they really lost heart. But the Lord said, go, I will give them into your hands tomorrow. So it isn't just sheer numbers. Perhaps that could have been the reason. But the explanation that I like the most, that, really speaks to me, is that sometimes the Lord may let a plan, even one that's in accordance with His will, suffer and go through hardships and seem like it's not going the way that you would expect, but still bring it into fruition. They routed the Benjamites, except for 600 men. But, it seems like there's a lot of times we go about something worthwhile, and it just doesn't go our way. And it doesn't mean that we should give up. It means a lot of times we should persevere through it. It's, you can have these hardships, and whenever you're going through it, it seems like this is all it's ever going to be. It's never going to get any better. It's a short-sighted way of dealing with issues. But the Lord sees things long term. And this is what seems like it could be addressing. Another thought that I had while looking into this is, it seems like there's a lot of anger that's going on with these people. It's this crime has been committed. We gotta stop it. We gotta go kill them all. It seems like they are ready to fight, and they are angry over this. And it's, a righteous anger, but it's an anger. I think that the Lord is actually very sad about the Benjamites. It is a tribe of Israel, and you see this a lot later in the story. But it seems like perhaps the Israelites needed to understand the sadness that's associated with, killing their brother. No civil war is good. It's all sadness. And that's actually why I'm talking about this today, is that, there's a lot of political discontent in the world. You have the yellow vest in France. You have them being gassed by their president. You have them, rioting. It's, just a lot of anger. You have Venezuela and the political turmoil going on there. And you even have the U.S. I've seen calls for violence from both sides. And I feel like we forget a lot of times that the other side is also our brothers. There's a sadness, not just an anger, that goes along with having an enemy. And that's, I think, one of the lessons that the Israelites get taught, especially later on. So, and also, it's not like their anger wasn't well-deserved. First of all, there's this awful crime that got committed. Something terrible that should never have happened happened. They wouldn't give it up. Then they killed a lot of their people. It's just one thing after another thing, and it's all bad. And that other side, the Benjamites, they were really awful in all of this. So it's not like their anger wasn't deserved. But then you read along with what happened. So we'll start in verse 47. But 600 men turned and fled towards the wilderness to the rock of Rimmon. And there they remained at the rock of Rimmon 4 months. The men of Israel turned back against the sons of Benjamin and struck them with the edge of the sword, both the entire city with the cattle and all that they found. They also set on fire all the cities which they found. Now the men of Israel had sworn in Mizpah, saying, "None of us shall give his daughter to Benjamin in marriage." So the people came to Bethel and sat there before God until evening, and lifted up their voices and wept bitterly. They said, "Why, O Lord God of Israel, has this thing come about in Israel, so that one tribe should be missing in Israel?" It came about the next day that the people arose early and built an altar there and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. Then the sons of Israel said, "Who is there among the tribes of Israel who did not come up in the assembly to the Lord?" For they had taken a great oath concerning him who did not come up to the Lord at Mizpah, saying, "He shall surely be put to death." And the sons of Israel were sorry for their brother Benjamin, and one said, "One tribe is cut off from Israel today. What shall we do for wives to those who are left, since we have sworn by the Lord not to give them any of our daughters in marriage?" And they said, "What one of the tribes of Israel who did not come up to the Lord at Mizpah?" And behold, no one had come up to the count from Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. For when the people were numbered, behold, there was not one of the inhabitants, but of Jabesh Gilead was there. And the congregation sent 12,000 of valiant warriors there, and commanded them, saying, "Go and strike the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, with the women and the little ones. This is the thing you shall do. You shall utterly destroy every man and every woman who is laid with man." And there they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins who had not known a man by lying with him. And they brought them to the camp at Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. So, from this, you had a short-sighted pledge. You had, none of us are going to marry any of the Benjaminites. And then you had short-sighted actions, cutting off the women and the children from the Benjaminites, so that there was no chance of them ever coming back if they so chose. So all the women, all the children, most of the men, except for 600 people, are left from the tribe of Benjamin. And even those 600, they don't have anyone that they can marry, because none of the other Israelites will give them in marriage, that or else they marry Canaanites and get led astray by their gods, the Canaanite gods. So they just murdered an entire tribe, and that's it. And they thought, what can we do? Is there anything that we can do to get out of this? And they look back and, they happen to find one place where, they didn't send any representatives. So they go over there and they kill them all, except for, 400 virgins. It's just more death. It's more Israelites killing more Israelites, all due to short-sightedness and trying to find some way out. In the end, they also have to have the Benjaminites steal daughters, really, so that they weren't giving the daughters, they were just stolen. And it's really kind of a terrible situation that they put themselves in, just through anger, through discontent. So that's what I was thinking about this morning, that, anger and discontent can lead to short-sightedness, but we have to always remember that the other side is also our brothers and sisters, and the only way that we can really have any kind of lasting peace is through love and focusing on the Lord's will and mercy. So with that in mind, I don't actually have a good segue into the invitation. So if you would like prayers, if you would like to be baptized, there's anything that we can do for you, please come now as we stand, as we sing.